Telling my girlfriend's parents about her emotional affair when her dad asked about marriage, I, 26M, have been with my girlfriend, 24F, for about 3 years. A little over a month ago, I found conversation screenshots on her laptop, which showed that she had been emotionally cheating on me with her coworker for several weeks. The screenshots had things like, she wishes she met him before me, how she has never felt this connected to someone. For a long time, I thought we had something special. We met in college, clicked immediately, and built a relationship that seemed strong on the surface. We shared everything, or at least I thought we did. We talked about our dreams, our fears, and where we saw ourselves in the future. She was my best friend and the person I imagined spending the rest of my life with. When I found those screenshots, it felt like the ground beneath me gave way. I remember the exact moment I saw the messages. Her laptop was left open on our shared desk at home. I was looking for a file for work, and there it was. Her chat window opened to a conversation with this coworker. The messages were clear and undeniable. She told him things like, I wish I met you before him, and I have never felt this connected to anyone else before. It felt like someone had punched me in the stomach. I did not confront her right away because I knew that I needed time to understand my feelings. I was overwhelmed. Confusion, anger, sadness, all rushed through me in waves. I kept replaying the words in my mind, trying to find some explanation that would make it all make sense. But deep down, I knew what I had found was real. We were scheduled to go on vacation to her parents' lake house that weekend with the family, so I decided that it would be best to go on vacation and then break up with her after. I wasn't sure if I was ready for a confrontation just yet. I wanted to see her one last time in a relaxed setting, surrounded by people who cared about her. I hoped maybe I could find some closure or at least understand what went wrong. I didn't want to ruin the trip or make things awkward in front of her family, but I also felt trapped by the weight of this secret. The drive to the lake house was quiet. I sat in the passenger seat, staring out the window as trees and houses slipped by. She chatted happily about the trip, completely unaware that my mind was a storm of doubt and hurt. Her excitement felt like a cruel contrast to the truth I was hiding. When we arrived, the air smelled of pine and fresh water. The lake house was a cozy 2-story cabin nestled near the shore, with a porch that overlooked the shimmering water. Her family greeted us warmly, smiling and hugging like we were part of some perfect, happy picture. I forced myself to smile back. But inside, I felt like an actor playing a role I no longer believed in. While we were there, her coworker kept texting her. Every time she got a text, she was smiling at her phone and kept making excuses to walk away to talk. I could see it happening. Her phone would buzz and her face would light up in a way I hadn't seen in a long time, except it wasn't for me. She would step outside or retreat to a quiet corner to reply, and sometimes she seemed nervous or secretive about it. I tried to ignore it, telling myself maybe it was nothing, but the memory of those screenshots burned in the back of my mind. Her parents were noticing the situation and asked if everything was okay between us, to which I said yes. Her mom and dad were kind and friendly, and I didn't want to cause trouble or embarrass her. They asked if we were happy, if anything was wrong. I nodded and said everything was fine, though it was far from the truth. I didn't want to betray her or break the family's trust, but inside, I felt torn apart. The days passed in a blur of lake swims, family dinners, and quiet moments on the porch. But every time she got a message, the happiness she showed just made the betrayal feel worse. I wanted to tell her the truth, to confront her about what I saw, but I held back. I thought maybe after the trip, I could gather the courage to face everything. On the last night of our vacation, her dad took me aside and asked when I was going to make an honest woman out of her. It was late, just after dinner. The family was gathered around the fireplace, sharing stories and laughter. Her dad, a serious but kind man, pulled me outside for a private word. His face was calm, but his eyes held a question that hit me like a thunderbolt. When are you going to make an honest woman out of her? He asked quietly. I froze. I could feel the weight of his expectation, of the hope in his voice. He saw me as the man who would marry his daughter, who would protect and cherish her. But inside, I was shattered. How could I say what I was thinking? How could I admit that she had been emotionally unfaithful? That our future was crumbling? I took a deep breath and told him the truth. I told him that it was never going to happen because she was cheating on me with her coworker. His face changed immediately. Shock, disbelief, pain, all mixed together. I could see it in his eyes that this was news he had never imagined. He was silent for a long moment, just staring at me as if trying to understand how this could be real. Her mom overheard me and started crying. Suddenly the door opened, and her mom appeared, having heard what I said. Tears welled up in her eyes, and she quickly turned away, trying to hide her sobs. The warmth and cheer of the evening dissolved into cold silence. I could feel the tension crushing the room. Her dad looked shocked, and my girlfriend walked in and saw everyone's faces and asked what happened. The moment felt like a slow-motion scene in a movie. My girlfriend appeared in the doorway, confused by the silence and the looks on their faces. She asked what was wrong, her voice tight and worried. Her eyes searched mine, and then she looked at her parents. Her dad told her that I had aired their dirty laundry. His words stung. They were like a slap, full of disappointment and anger. He accused me of breaking their trust by bringing private family matters out into the open. I felt a mix of guilt and frustration. Was it wrong to be honest? Was it worse to keep silent and pretend everything was fine? She was furious at me for not talking to her about it first and for telling her family about it. Her reaction was a whirlwind of anger and hurt. She accused me of betrayal for not coming to her directly before telling her parents. She said I humiliated her and damaged her reputation. I wanted to explain why I did it, but the words caught in my throat. I was too upset to argue. She keeps telling me what I saw was just friendship between her and her coworker, and that I misunderstood everything. She tried to convince me that I was wrong, that the messages meant nothing, and that I was letting jealousy cloud my judgment. She said they were just close friends who talked a lot. But how could I believe that after everything I had read? How could I ignore the truth staring me in the face? Now she is telling everyone that I betrayed her privacy by looking at her laptop and humiliated her in front of her family, but she left it open on our shared desk? The worst part is that she flipped the story and made me the villain. She says, I invaded her privacy by reading her messages. I did feel bad about invading her space, but the laptop was left open on our shared desk, the place where we both kept our things. I never meant to spy. It just happened. And now, instead of owning up to what she did, she paints me as the bad guy. The whole thing has left me feeling lost, hurt, and unsure about what to do next. The woman I loved has become a stranger, and the people I wanted to be family with now look at me differently. It is a lot to carry, but I needed to share this. The morning after that tense night was unlike any morning I had ever experienced. I woke up in the guest room of her parents' lake house feeling like I had been trapped in a nightmare. The soft light from the window showed the quiet calm of the lake outside, but inside me, everything was in chaos. The silence in the house was heavy, like everyone was walking on eggshells, afraid to speak or even look at each other. I stayed in my room for a long time, staring at the ceiling and replaying the previous night's conversation. How had it come to this? How had a moment that was supposed to be about love and future hopes turned into such pain and betrayal? Her parents hadn't come to talk to me since then. I wasn't sure if they blamed me or if they were just as shocked and confused as I was. I understood why her dad might be upset. In his eyes, I had brought their family's problems into the open in the worst possible way. But I also wondered how much he understood the full picture, the emotional betrayal I had discovered, the heartbreak I was feeling. Later that morning, my girlfriend came into the guest room. Her face was hard to read, anger mixed with sadness, confusion and hurt all tangled together. She sat on the edge of the bed and looked at me quietly. "We need to talk," she said, her voice low but firm. I nodded, bracing myself for whatever was coming next. I was prepared to listen, but also to speak honestly. "I still don't think what you saw was what you think," she said. "Yes, I talked to him a lot, but it is just friendship. You misunderstood everything. You should have come to me first, before telling my parents." I sighed. I wanted to, believe me, but I needed time to process it myself. And when your dad asked about marriage, I couldn't lie anymore. I couldn't pretend things were okay. She shook her head, frustration clear in her eyes. "You humiliated me in front of my family. That was wrong. You broke my trust." I felt a deep ache. I never wanted to hurt you. I just wanted the truth to come out. Our conversation went back and forth like that for a while. She kept insisting. It was nothing that I was reading too much into it. But I knew what those words meant. When someone says they wish they met another person before you, and they say they have never felt this connected to anyone else, that is not just friendship. As the day wore on, the mood in the house remained heavy. Her parents were distant, polite but clearly uncomfortable. I felt like a stranger in what was supposed to be a welcoming family space. At times, I caught her parents exchanging worried glances. I wondered if they believed me or if they thought I was the problem. One afternoon, her mother pulled me aside quietly while my girlfriend was out walking by the lake. "I am so sorry you are going through this," she said softly. "We want our daughter to be happy, but this is hard for us too." Her voice cracked, and I saw tears in her eyes. It made me realize that the pain was not just mine. It was spreading through the whole family. I wanted to comfort her, but I felt empty inside. I thought about what the future might hold. Could this relationship survive? Could I ever trust her again? Or was it time to walk away and heal? That night, we sat outside on the porch, the sky dark and filled with stars. She was quiet, staring out at the water. I didn't want to say anything. That might cause more pain, so I just sat beside her, hoping she might open up. After a long pause, she finally spoke. "I don't want to lose you," she said quietly. "But I don't know how to fix this." I looked at her, my heart breaking. "I don't know either." The next day, we packed up and prepared to leave the lake house. The trip that was meant to be a happy family vacation had turned into a moment of reckoning. I was filled with sadness for what had been lost, but also a small hope that maybe somehow the truth would lead to healing, even if it meant going through pain first. As we drove back home, the silence between us was different. It was no longer just quiet. It was heavy with everything left unsaid. When we got home, I tried to focus on work and daily life, but my mind was always elsewhere. I found myself replaying the messages again and again. I tried to convince myself that maybe she was right, that it was only friendship. But deep down, I knew I could not ignore the reality. She, on the other hand, began telling our mutual friends and family a different version of the story. She said I had betrayed her by going through her laptop without permission and that I humiliated her in front of her family. I felt trapped between wanting to defend myself and not wanting to drag more people into our private pain. Friends began asking me what happened, and I found it hard to explain without sounding bitter or angry. I just wanted to be honest, but I also wanted to respect her privacy. It felt impossible. I kept thinking about the line her dad said to me, the one about making an honest woman out of her. That phrase now felt hollow. What did honesty really mean if it led to this kind of heartbreak? I am sharing this story because I want people to understand that sometimes love is complicated. Sometimes the people we care about the most can hurt us in ways we never expected. And sometimes telling the truth, even when it is hard, is the only way forward. No matter what happens next, I know that I deserve to be with someone who is honest with me, who values me, and who respects the trust we build together. And I hope she finds that too, whether it is with me or someone else. For now, I am trying to heal. I am learning that it is okay to feel hurt, angry, and confused. But I also know that I have the strength to move on and find happiness again. After returning home from the lake house, life felt very different. The place we shared no longer felt like home to me. Every corner reminded me of the secret I had uncovered and the tension that had followed. I tried to keep my routine, going to work, talking to friends, exercising, but inside, I felt like I was walking through a fog. My girlfriend and I barely spoke unless we had to. When we did talk, it was tense and awkward. She would bring up how I betrayed her privacy and how hurt she was that I had shown her family what she called our private business. I understood that she felt exposed, but I also knew the truth was more complicated. One evening, about 2 weeks after the vacation, we sat down to talk. I wanted to try one more time to understand her side and see if there was any hope left for us. I looked at her carefully. She looked tired, and her eyes had that familiar spark of frustration and sadness. "Can we be honest with each other?" I asked gently. She nodded but didn't speak. "I need to know. Was there anything more than friendship with your coworker?" I asked. She looked away and stayed silent for a moment. Then she shook her head. "No, it was just friendship," she said quietly, almost like she was trying to convince herself as much as me. "You don't understand how close we became at work. He's been there for me when I was stressed, and I guess I leaned on him a lot." I wanted to believe her. I wanted to trust her, but the words from those messages haunted me. "You told him you wished you met him before me. How do you explain that?" I asked. She bit her lip and looked down. "I don't know why I said that. Maybe I was confused. I didn't mean it the way you think." That answer didn't feel like enough. It sounded like a mistake, but a mistake that had already done damage. We talked for hours that night, trying to untangle the mess of emotions. I told her how hurt and betrayed I felt. I told her I needed honesty and clarity. She said she felt guilty for making me doubt her, and that she never wanted to hurt me. But the trust was broken, and that scared me more than anything. The following days were some of the hardest I have ever faced. Friends who knew us both started taking sides. Some believed me, some believed her, and others just stayed quiet, not wanting to get involved. It was painful to see people I cared about caught in the middle. Her story about me invading her privacy and humiliating her was spreading. People asked me why I had looked at her laptop in the first place. I always told them the truth, that the laptop was left open on our shared desk and I was not spying, just stumbled upon it. But the damage was done. The narrative was twisted. One afternoon, I was at a coffee shop with a close friend, trying to explain everything. He looked at me with sympathy. "I get why you were upset. If someone said those things about me, I don't know if I could stay calm either," he said. His words gave me a little comfort. I was not crazy for feeling the way I did. Meanwhile, my girlfriend seemed to become more defensive and distant. She stopped inviting me to family events and stopped talking about the future. The idea of marriage or long-term plans became a topic. She avoided. One day, I found her on the phone, speaking quietly but with urgency. "I don't want to talk about it anymore," she said. "I just want to move on and forget this ever happened." But how could we move on when everything felt so broken? One night, I sat alone in our living room, scrolling through the messages again, trying to find something that would make me forgive or understand better. But all I felt was sadness and loss. I realized that love alone might not be enough when trust is gone. The hardest part was watching her pretend that everything was fine with her family. To them, I was the bad guy who had betrayed her. She would smile and laugh with them, but I knew the truth simmered under the surface. I wanted to reach out to her parents and explain my side more fully, but I was afraid it would only make things worse. I felt trapped in a painful silence. Sometimes, late at night, I would hear her crying softly in the other room. I wanted to comfort her, but I was scared that if I did, it would only remind us both of the pain we were trying to avoid. After a month of this painful limbo, I decided I needed some space. I told her I was going to stay with a friend for a few days to think. She didn't say much, just nodded quietly. Leaving felt like leaving behind a part of my heart, but I knew I couldn't stay stuck in this cycle. That time apart gave me some clarity. I realized I deserved honesty and respect, and that I could not live in doubt and pain. I also realized that maybe she was not ready or willing to give me that. I began to understand that sometimes, even when you love someone deeply, you have to let go. I am still healing. I am still learning how to trust myself again. And I hope that one day I will find someone who wants to build a life based on honesty and love. This experience has taught me that love is not just about feelings. It is about respect, trust, and being truthful, even when it hurts. In the weeks that followed my stay with my friend, I came back home with a clearer mind, but a heavier heart. I knew the relationship with my girlfriend had changed forever. The hope I once had for us felt fragile, like a thin thread stretched too far. When I returned, she didn't rush to greet me or ask how I was. Instead, there was a distance between us, like a wall we both built to protect ourselves from more pain. We lived in the same space, but felt miles apart. One afternoon, I decided to try talking with her again. This time, I wanted to say what I truly felt, not out of anger or blame, but out of honesty and care. I want you to know that I loved you deeply, I began, my voice soft. But what I found hurt me more than I can say. And it wasn't just the messages, it was the way things were kept from me. And then how you told others a different story. She looked at me, eyes tired, but guarded. I never meant to hurt you, she said quietly. I was confused, and I didn't know how to say what I was feeling. I nodded. I understand that. But trust is the foundation of any relationship. Without it, love can't grow. For a long moment, we just looked at each other, the silence filled with unspoken feelings. I wanted to believe that we could find a way back, but part of me knew it wasn't that simple. Days turned into weeks, and slowly we began to rebuild some sense of peace between us. We didn't talk much about the affair or the broken trust, but there were small moments of kindness, shared meals, quiet walks, and tentative smiles. It felt like we were trying to find new ways to connect. But despite these small steps, the future remained uncertain. The idea of marriage, which once seemed so natural, was now a question with no clear answer. Her family was still distant towards me, and the warmth we had once shared felt like a fading memory. Sometimes, late at night, I would lie awake thinking about what could have been. I wondered if things might have been different if I had found those messages sooner, or if she had been honest from the start. I thought about the promises we made to each other, and how fragile those promises can be when trust breaks. One afternoon, as I was packing some things to take back to my friend's place, she approached me. Her expression was soft, and for the first time in a long while, she looked truly vulnerable. I'm sorry for everything, she said quietly. I don't know if we can fix this, but I want you to know I never stopped caring. Her words touched me deeply. I wanted to hold on to that hope, but I also knew that sometimes caring is not enough. I care about you too, I said. But we both need time to heal and figure out what's best for us. We hugged then, a gentle, bittersweet embrace. It was not the end of us, but it was the beginning of something new. Maybe a new chapter, or maybe a farewell. Only time would tell. Looking back, I realized that relationships are complicated. They are filled with moments of joy and pain, trust and doubt. Sometimes people change or make mistakes that leave scars. But those scars can also teach us important lessons about ourselves and what we need from others. I have learned that honesty is the heart of love. Without it, even the strongest bonds can unravel. I have learned that respecting someone's privacy is important, but so is standing up for yourself when you feel betrayed. And I have learned that healing takes time, sometimes alone, sometimes with others, but always with kindness toward yourself. Today, I am still moving forward. I am grateful for the love I experienced, even if it ended in heartbreak. I am hopeful for a future where I can build trust and happiness again. To anyone reading this who has been through something similar, know that you are not alone. It is okay to feel hurt. It is okay to ask for honesty and respect. And it is okay to walk away when the pain becomes too much. Life is messy, and love is not perfect. But with courage and kindness, we can find our way through.